back. So tonight we're gonna talk a little bit about the club station.
I think so. Oh, okay, no.
Okay. No, not yet, not yet. The first thing I wanna do is the, flex.
You might want to move the microphone closer.
Yeah, sorry. Is that it? No.
Yeah, it's just hung up. I'm not.
Hello? So this is for the video. So the Flex 6300, we were a member of the club had a, you don't mind, where is he? You don't mind if I say who, right? No, there you go. Ryan A0 had a Flex 6300. I think it was like a giant shell game because he got Ed's Flex and there was a whole bunch of changes. So he bought Ed's Flex and then he had a 6300. Right before the board meeting we had on the 22nd, right?
Yes.
The deal was honestly too good to pass up. We were not honestly too good to be true. It was a great deal. We bought the Flex for $800, a 6300. So it was a great deal that Ryan gave us on it. It had just come back from Flex, if I'm not mistaken, and just to have them go through and whatnot. So we bought that Flex. It's a 6300. So if you look up Flexes, it's the Signature series. It's the smaller one. It's like the shorter height. It's not the full, like this high. 63, 64. Obviously the 8300 or 8600, whatever the new ones are. So the 6300, and it's in there operating. It works very well. There's no faceplate on it because that's what a Flex is. At least that part of Flex, unless you have an AM, what's called an AM or a Maestro. So the board voted to buy the Flex 6300 at the board meeting. All right, so that's what it was. It was just an opportunity we didn't want to pass up. All right, so that's what's installed there. We took the Dave, which was it? The
Yes.
which one? It was the 1000 MP.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, we took the FT 1000 MP. We took that out of line, and so I'll go through more of those in a minute here. So just a quick thing on current radios, purpose of the station, just for W4GAC is not a contest station. Some new gear, old isn't necessarily bad, and some other information. So the FT1, I'm not going to get into, I mean, the FT 1000s were great radios in their day. They're 30 years old. The MP 1000 MP is a 30-year-old radio. The Mark V is a 25-year-old radio. So when people are looking to decide what they want to buy for a radio, one of the objectives we tried to do was, what we'd like to do, is if somebody's saying, hey, I'm trying to decide what radio to buy. Well, do I like this interface? We'd like to have an opportunity to have a few different types of radios in the station. So it's not just one. That was one of the things that several people back in September and October had mentioned to me. So this idea, if you were setting up strictly a contest station, yeah, you'd want uniformity. But in this case, we're not looking for uniformity because that's not what the goal of that station is. It's a club station that happens to contest. Right. So as I mentioned a little bit, the station sort of changed to a contesting focus, which used to be more we did training and things like that, and that's kind of what we want to get back to. And we've been getting back to that. So we're going to correct that course back to where people learn first and contest second. And I did, as I said before the last election, that was brought up to me several times by several people. That one of the things about the club station they wanted to do. And as I said, sorry, I kind of did my slide ahead, didn't I? Have an assortment of radios that people can try. That assortment being ones that have things like pan adapters and waterfalls and something made in the last, 10, at this point I'll go for 15 years, but 10 years or something like that. So W4GAC's not a contest. You can have this presentation
Oh.
if you want.
Even better, thank you. I just tend to
We
write.
do that every time.
I know.
It's getting to be a running act. We do that. So it's a place where people can learn. One of the things in the last few contests we've done when we've gotten together for contests is we basically train people who had very little experience and let them go have at it, and they had a great time, and that was exactly what we were trying to do. And I like to say that to tie it into the Florida QSO party coming up, just as a reminder, because somebody did ask during the break. As a reminder, you don't need any experience to operate. We will train you. Our goal is to teach you how to operate. All right, so please come in that day, and we'll sit down. You'll shadow somebody, and we'll train you a little bit, and then our goal is to get you talking into the microphone. All right. K3LR, W3LPL, K9CT, those are contest stations. With this land, this we don't have 200 foot towers on this property, obviously. So we're not trying to be. I'm not saying you can't do a contest with that. Obviously, people do without that, but we're not trying to be a full-fledged contest station. Contest at any cost, and I think it's by this point we've pretty much put the nail in that coffin on that we're really not trying to be a contest station. But we do like to contest and have fun, so it kind of work goes hand in hand. These are my opinions and my opinions only, just for the record. And as I mentioned, the radios were old. Excuse me 1 second. Old isn't bad if you're a collector or you have nostalgia for old radios. I have bunches of old radios. I have my whole living room has old radio. I have Drakes, I have old Tentecs, I have old ICOM radios. I have all kinds of old radios that are amazingly, my wife lets me put on the shelves in the living room. I don't understand that, but next to my old Macintosh collection. So it was like,
Nice.
she's a keeper. But anyway,
Nice.
so the old is good. Old, there's nothing wrong with old stuff, but it's not if you're looking to do things like a pan adapter or a waterfall, have an integrated voice keyer. There's a thing I'm not going to go. There's a reference at the end of this presentation from Rob Sherwood on NC0B, and he's typically known for receiver noise, receiver things, but he also has stuff about transmitter phase noise, and when you're working in multi stations. It's kind of the reason you don't bring ICOM 7300s to field day, because they tend to interfere with each other. So all things like USB interfaces, where we don't have to get external adapters and things like that. So it's, again, a modern radio. It's not, I'm not talking about rockets. It's not the bleeding edge. It's just a radio that a lot of people have. So. And as I said, old isn't necessarily bad. My Drake twins I don't put in contest. We have King Hussein's, if anybody remembers King Hussein, JY1. We have the Heathkit radio that was built for him that he used to use in our storage room, right in that room over there. And but we don't use it at field day. So there's a time and a place for relics, and that isn't it. So again, now I'll stop with the opinions. As an exposition of modern gear and for contesting, I don't really think that's what we want to do. If our goal is to try to get people to, hey, I want to buy a radio, I don't know what to buy. Well, hey, sit down, here's one with a waterfall, here's an ICOM display, see if you like this one better, see if you like this one. Now, we can't get one of everything, obviously. So the nice thing about, we'll talk about some of them, is there's some commonality in the menu interface. That's one of the reasons we like the 7610, which we'll look at here. So there's other issues, but again, the old time stuff's fun. I break out my Tentex Century 21 for what's called straight key night. The ARL does on New Year's Eve. I break that out and hook my straight key to it and 40 watts and do CW on it, but that's kind of the only time I use it. So waterfall, consistent interfaces among the family. Again, you'll see this with the ICOM 7610. Voice keyer, USB interface. A network interface is nice if it has one. 7610 happens to have one. Upgradable firmware, sometimes the manufacturers forget things and they want to add stuff, and
That'd be $29.31.
And as I said, the reference article, good phase, transmitter phase noise numbers, and somewhat decent receiver numbers would be good too. That's not a bad thing either to have, but you don't take, you gotta be careful on how you look about the Sherwood list as far as sorting, because most stations aren't gonna experience the issues that he sorts for, which he acknowledges. I think just there's some things in, again, a relatively recent radio that you'll find that if someone wants to, hey, how does the waterfall work? Do I want this radio? Do I need a waterfall? Do I don't want a waterfall? Maybe I want an older ICOM that doesn't have a waterfall. What's that gonna give for me? Do I get to try it? So that's the idea. This is just a couple brief slides on what a waterfall is, so everybody knows what in the world I'm talking about. So this part here is the waterfall or the spectrum display, and here you can see stations. I think this one, those were both 7610s. This was the station. I was going to pull up, unfortunately it didn't download, I was trying to do this. Ryan's presentation on working split had a bunch of different radios in there. And one of the things that's really interesting is if you look at all the different ICOM radios, they all look almost identical. Some have more features than others. 7610 has more features than the 7300, and 7760 has more features than the 7610. But generally, the menu system is the same. There's just different features in it. So if you know how to use one of these newer ICOMs, and I say newer, 7300 and beyond, that's getting to be 12 years old now, something like that. So. Consistency in menus, so that's important. This is a 7300, and I think this one's, I guess I shouldn't have overlapped it like that. That wasn't a good idea. So let's see, figure out what the radio is. It might be a 705 down below there.
Yeah.
It is. I think it's a 705. Yeah. Oh yeah, it says, yeah, I see it. Okay, so one of the radios we were talking about was the ICOM 7610. And it's an excellent receiver and transmitter, low phase noise, so it's not going to interfere with other stations. The other stations operating in the station at the same time. It's got a USB interface and it has a network interface as well. Built-in voice keyer, built-in waterfall, common user interface with both ICOMs. Again, if you can use a 7610, you can use a 7300. All these other radios, you can use them. Yeah, I mean, it's really easy to go from one radio to the other. I'm going to say this because I know there's a few Yaesu aficionados in the house. The Yaesu, I think Yaesu's has gotten better later in the later models, like the DX101, and the DX10. You look at things like the 991 to the 891 to things like that, that doesn't apply. They're basically different radios. So that kind of didn't really fit in what we were trying to do. The Elecraft K3S, K3S is unique in the respect that we have a lot of people who have experience with K3s. The K3 was a really popular radio. It was, people used to carry it. It was so light. You carry it in the expeditions and things like that. K3s were incredibly, I don't know, this isn't the right word to use this word, but optionable in the sense that you could buy a K3 that had a basic K3. You could have one that had a USB interface into it, which is the K3S. You could add the voice keyer. You could add a second receiver. Now for this station, we really don't need a second receiver, so it gives you some flexibility in price because you don't really need to have the full second receiver and set of filters. That's for the way it's usually operated here. If somebody wants to use a second receiver, they can use a 7610 or some other radio we have, or a Flex or whatnot. It's still a well-supported radio. Lots of people use it. They do have a waterfall if you can find an optional pan adapter, which is basically a separate box that you hook into it. And again, the price range on the K3S can really vary. 2200 is a reasonable number for what you get, but it can vary on what options it has. You know, because you could really put a lot of stuff into them, but there's a lot of stuff we probably don't need. If it was your primary radio, you'd probably want more stuff in it than if it was just the way we're using it here. Let's see. So, the cost of doing nothing. Continue using the MPs. Well, I should say continue using the 2 MPs that we have, the 2 Mark Vs. I think it's 2 Mark Vs, right? Yeah. You sort of lose the things I've been talking about. The Mark V is, and this was one of those things that I always, whenever I'm in here working with people who are contesting, I always end up going to look over the power level, because people typically turn the power all the way up. Problem is, these are 100-watt contests, and in a Mark V, you got to make sure you're running at 100 watts. So inevitably, people say, "Oh, I'm not reaching this person, so I'm going to turn the power up," and that's what they do. So it's I know it's a case of. What was that? Sorry. We have watt meters on the radios now, so it's just perhaps less of an issue, but it's still something people need to keep track of. We have the external navigator interfaces. We have this. How do I be charitable and nice about saying this? We have this MFJ voice keyer box solution that is. The microphone plugs in and it plugs into the radio, and I'm just going to leave that there. It's not really an integrated solution, again, and it's a 30-year-old radio. So that's kind of I mean, we could continue just to use those and not do anything. It doesn't really fit what the goal is, what we're trying to accomplish in giving people all the things I've talked about before. The existing gear, so if we approve getting these, the K3 and the 7610, K3S and 7610, we would sell the oldest 2 MPs. We'll keep one. We'll keep that at Station 4 for really more as a spare, because the objective of Station 4, by the way, in case you don't know, is to have it's the empty position. Right now it's got Lou's Flex in there he's doing a test with, but the objective is that we have a spot that's always empty. It's got a power supply, it's got a network connection, just in case your radio needs a network connection. It's got a coax output. So if you want to bring your own radio in, you have a spot where you can just bring your radio in, sit down, plug into a power supply, and do a test. If you want to test it or you want to use it, say, hey, I'm trying to figure this out, can someone help me with it? That's an empty position just for that. And it stays that way. We may, if we decide, like Florida QSO Party, who knows, maybe we'll decide we want to have 4 stations running, so maybe we'll activate it for that, but generally that position would be empty. There's a Heathkit SB220 that we would sell. We'll sell the spare tuners. There's a couple of antenna tuners that we'll sell. And there's another amplifier, right, the Meritron?
Meritron 811.
Yeah, Meritron 811. And we'll use those for new microphones or a second monitor. After the last Ready contest, we all sort of decided, realized we need another monitor because the screen gets really busy. With the Flex in the corner, now we really need a second monitor. It's tough to see all that on one. So that's the idea. We can add some other monitors there just to make it, again, a little more usable, how you would, typically how people would use it at home, to see, hey, how do I use the external monitor on the radio or things like that. Okay, before we do that, I'm going to go, do we have any questions about specifically about the slides I've talked to so far? Go ahead, Or.
So that the Elecraft, the K3.
K3S?
Yeah, I think that there's like a newer one, like a K4. Are you guys looking at that
I
one?
did not put him in the audience to ask that question.
It's not in the same order of magnitude as the other one.
We would probably need to do a fundraiser.
There is a K4 and a K4D radio. Elecraft does make a newer radio, which is a fantastic radio. I have one. But you don't typically find them used, and it's much more than we want to spend. To get into a new K4D is $7,000. New K4, if you don't get the D, is $6,000. So it's very rare to find a K4 used. So that didn't seem like an option for us.
And even with the ICOM, we're talking about, not the latest and greatest from them either. So we're trying to stay relatively current, but still, not on the leading edge. So we're not.
Try to hit the sweet spot.
Yeah, if we wanted to get the latest ICOM, we'd go get a 7760, and which is also a very good radio. And
Also about 7,000.
6,000. I went 6,000. But I say that just to illustrate that I have one of those too. That I got recently. I say that just to say, hey, we're not just trying to buy equipment here because we don't have equipment on our own. We're trying to trying to take care of something here. This isn't like, hey, we can buy new radios we can use. That's nothing like that. Anything else, Ari? All right. Anyone else have a question about the topics, about the slides so far? Yes, sir.
I actually had a question about the K3. How similar is the interface in the K3 to something like KX2, which are really popular for
Close, yeah.
The K3 is actually not. I think everything probably shy of the K. You'll even find some similarities in the K2 to the K, or the K3 to the K3, K3 to the K2, I should say. The KX3 very similar interfaces. Yeah, you'll find the menu system works the same way and things like that.
It's kind of the same with the 7610 to the 705 similarity there.
The ICOM one's a little easier than that, but yeah, it's sort of like once you're used to. But yeah, if you said, hey, I'm thinking about getting a KX3, can I try out this K3? Yeah, that would be very portable. That training would be very portable. Anything? Any others so far?
We bring in an old, have a K2 Elecraft, let's make QRP. I was wondering if I could bring that to that next session you have the QCell, just to see how it would operate,
What I would say is bring it, and as long as you're here before, that we can do something before. Because when the other stations are on the air,
Right.
they're either going to interfere with you or that might be an issue. So it would probably be better to do. If we can work out a time we can come separately and do it that way, we'll probably have a little more time to play with it. But that's my only concern about doing it at the CUSA party.
Or he could even bring it before the next meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. Bring your next meeting. We'll come up to if you can stand the mosquitoes, come up to POTA. That will work fine. Anyone else? Okay. So here's the proposal. So authorize the purchase of modern ICOM HF radio with the following minimum features. And I'm listing them. I'll tell you why I'm listing the minimum features in a second. Built-in waterfall, USB, 100 watts, and a voice heater. The reason I'm listing the minimum features is I want to make sure that if we, what's approved, if a motion is approved, that we don't go, oh, well, we got a great deal on a 7300. It's like, we don't want to do that. That's why I kind of put the names in here. I said preferably an ICOM 7610, then I realized afterward the motion had. I mean, the 70, I probably wouldn't go with the 7600. The 7610s, you get more bang for the buck for not that much more buck on the used market, if that makes sense. The other one is purchase an Elecraft K3S with the following features: a voice keyer, which is the DDK card, USB interface that's specifically the K3S, not a K3. And if we have the, depends on what price we get it for, we can add the PAN adapter, or if we can find a good deal on a PAN adapter, which is the box that allows you to see the waterfall on a K3. Purchase locally from known hams or through reputable used dealers like MTC, avoid QRZ, QTH, eBay from unknown sellers. We don't do that. That's not a reliable way to buy radios. Use funds from equipment sales to add new microphones, second monitor, etc. to each station and other accessories as needed. So the way we're going to do this is if we want to do this, we will go through standard fashion. Somebody has to make a motion, somebody has to, not yet, somebody has to second it. And then we'll have some discussion, one at a time. We're not gonna cross-talk over each other. You get a little bit of time, because then we'll go on to the next person, and then we'll vote. So we would need a motion to spend up to $5,000 on 2 radios to include an ICOM 7610 and an Elecraft K3S. Do we have a motion to do that?
W2SUB will make that motion.
Thank you, Fred.
Discussion?
Do we have, hold on, we need a second. Do we have a second?
Second.
Lou seconds. Yeah, who said discussion first? Go ahead, Bob.
I just think maybe you ought to split it up as far as, you want to approve it now, but maybe split it up over time between the 2 radios. We've already got one new radio to learn, and then you make it all 3 new radios to learn, maybe would just be a little bit more convenient, especially the guys that have to install all the equipment, to break it up time-wise as far as the purchase goes, which may happen anyway.
I'm not sure I understand the,
Well, you can approve it, but don't, unless you get 2 wonderful bargains all at the same time, split it out time-wise.
oh yeah, well, I mean, once we get we need the approval. I mean, so we've had a few radios, as an example, we've had a few radios come along that we haven't been able to do anything because we didn't have the funds approved. So the idea is we get the funds approved, and then, we don't have we don't have a 7610 or a specific K3S in mind right now. There's nobody waiting, so that's okay, so any other discussion? The team is second. Go ahead, Warren.
If there were a chance to get an upgrade on one of those, so if there's a model up from that, would that be acceptable if it met the same price criteria?
I can answer the question and say there isn't, because the next one after the 7610 is the 7760, and that's not gonna be a case. And then the next one beyond the K3 is a K4, and that's just, again,
If someone's selling one of those radios for the price we're looking at, there's
I'll buy
A
it.
lot of,
there's something wrong with it.
I would be in front of him.
Rich, go ahead.
Yeah, Rich, AA2MF, bouncing off of Bob's initial question. I can understand the concept, Tom, that you only want to have additional radios so people can see what they'll like. But what it seems to be is that you're turning the station into a radio showroom, which is nice. My question, as far as the general population of club members, is who's going to teach these people how to use these radios? A person who sits down wants to feel, the learning curves on every one of these radios is extremely steep. And especially that in the comparison between a dinosaur radio, which is what we have now, and the radios that are currently being manufactured, regardless as to what the product line is, what the company is, they're menu systems. So to do something, you have to get into a menu, and you have to learn, and one button has 10 different options and so on and so forth, which is all well and good. The question is who is going to teach our club membership so that they can operate these radios?
Okay, any other discussion? Go ahead, Fred.
Hey, it's Fred, W2SUB. I'm a relatively new member, but I've been president. A lot of you guys know of UPark. And I want to say that I think your club station is one of the greatest assets of this club. And having what you have now is very antiquated. This upgrade will really bring you not to cutting edge, but to a much greater capability you can be proud of. It's a great learning instrument for people. And I think there are plenty of people that operate ICOM radios. We have a lot of expertise in this club to explain how ICOMs work, and we do have expertise also on Elecraft. We have an Elecraft that we use, 3 Elecrafts that they are outstanding radios. I would highly recommend that you would upgrade to one of these. We've had great service out of it. So I know I'm new, but I think the club has the funds. You have the expertise. This will be a significant upgrade, which is going to help you do many, many things that you wanna do, especially learning is very, very key, so, thank you.
Point of order, please.
Go ahead.
The question really wasn't answered.
I'm sorry, that was
I-
discussion.
I understand that. How you doing? Haven't seen you in a while, Fred.
Yeah.
Are you, or do you have any, for instance, we have the mentor program, which is kind of like dead. How are we going to, within all this, introduce these radios to our membership so that they become proficient?
May I help answer that?
Sure, go ahead, Paul, please.
So, been contesting for quite a while, and I've used K3s, and they're relatively straightforward once you learn what the front panel is. And oftentimes, even with the radios that we have, what we'll do is we'll set it up in a basic format so that it will function for the for the type of contacts that we're making, and then we will highlight those elements that you want to change. How do you tune it? How do you change modes? How do you change bands? And like anything else, you learn by starting out. So we have many experts that own flexes. We've got people that own K3s, and we have got people that own the ICOM, the 7610. So yes, I'll have to learn the 7610, but I'll learn that. I'll have to learn the flex, but I already know the K3 well enough that I can sit down and operate it, no problem. So, and we will still have a Yaesu. So if someone says, I really want to try that because I want to go buy a 30-year-old radio because I can get it for a whole lot less money, we can set that up in the fourth station and let them play with it.
Okay, to answer, go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, one of the things that, we pride ourselves on is a learning opportunities we provide. Initially, a lot of people are gonna be confused by one or more radios. And, we're gonna have to set up some kind of an educational program. Hey, you wanna learn the K3, come in this Saturday. You wanna learn the Flex, come in the next Saturday. Or in an evening, but, something has to be done. Just like the type of programs we did initially when we were doing contesting, and people didn't know contesting, we set up a little, get together and sit down, a few people who were interested would come in and learn the deal. You're not gonna learn it all at once, it's like eating an elephant, you gotta eat one little piece at a time. So like Paul says, somebody come up initially for a contest and start it and run it for you, but that's not where you're not gonna learn how to run a radio in a contest. If you don't know, don't mess with it, just use it as it is. They're really two separate problems, or two opportunities, I should say.
Yeah, one point, it's a valid question, everyone, but it wasn't necessarily germane to the motion on the floor, so it's a valid question though, but go ahead.
Just a comment, Tom, I think it's great that we're diversifying the number of vendors out there, as opposed to having one vendor, like we've got Flex, right, we've got ICOM. I mean, Ken was about the only one not listed there, but still, it's great to have that diversification, understand how different radios work, so you go to someone's ham shack and say, oh, I've never done a K3. No, I have because I use it at my shack, so I think or my club. So I think it's great that we're diversifying the vendors of the radios.
Anything else? Go ahead.
I just want to point out that the best way to learn a radio is to use it. I bought an ICOM 9700. I had never used an ICOM before. I just have to turn it on and start playing with it. And that's how you learn it. You don't go to school for it.
Right, and we typically do use the contests before the contests, different times, or on the job training, so to speak. We have the club station is always available, and we try to open it as people want to use it. In the past, we've had more where we've tried to, hey, we want to go work at the expedition or something like that. Just something to get people at the station, something to get people to get in their car and drive to the station to use it. But again, it wasn't necessarily related to the motion. It's a good question. There's a separate point, topic, or even better at a board meeting, we can bring that up and come up with a program on what we want to do for it. Anything else related to the motion of buying the two radios?
Move the question.
Sorry?
I move the question.
Thank you. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Okay, I see it. Okay, so that would be all but one, I think. Okay, motion carries, thank you. Okay, so that was that part. And I did, and this will be on the website in our presentation area. I'll include the, you'll have the link at the back. Let's see, there was one other thing which related to, I'm gonna bring this up because I have time. I wasn't sure if I was gonna have time. D, I was debating whether to bring this up or not. No, I'll do it. So, how many people have used the SPARC 2-meter repeater in the last 2 weeks? All right. So, and I'm not asking for anybody to do anything today. I just wanted to point out something to everyone based on D telling me something. The GE Master 2, which is what the repeater is a phenomenal workhorse of engineering. The GE Master 2 is a great repeater. The one thing to think about is, and we had a little scare last month? Month before. And where we were out for a couple of days, but that ended up being a power supply, I think. A couple months ago, I asked D, how's the 2-meter repeater doing? Because he said, it could die any day. So, of course, I like, whoa, wait a minute. It's like, okay, just imagining how much my phone is going to be ringing if it did die. So the reason I bring that up is because we had some pretty good luck with Kenwood TKR 750 on the 147.12 repeater in North County. And unfortunately, they don't make that one anymore. But anyway, the point is, I just want to make sure everybody was aware that to replace a repeater, there's about, I checked today, Kenwood said to the Arcom, who makes the controller, the thing that talks on the repeater, he sells repeaters as well. Kenwood said they would ship it by, if we ordered one today, they would ship it at the end of the month. So again, I'm not asking anybody to do that. Just keep in mind though, what that means is, if we, for some reason, lost something, you are easily into 4 weeks, 5 weeks. It depends. It just depends on when. You know, let's say 4 weeks. Let's just split the difference. So because you got to debug it, you got to get it, you got to install it, and the whole bit. So we have 440 repeater. So it's not like we have no, we're out of repeaters. So obviously, you still use the 440 repeater. But just the people who use the repeaters, just keep in mind that we don't have a backup to that repeater. All right, which as a, my part of my life has spent contingency planning and DR exercises and things like that, and not having a backup scares the life out of me, but that's just the nature of the beast. Now we could also look at, hey, that Kenwood TKR 750 works great, see if we can find a used one, because they don't make it anymore, or things like that. But you get into, when you cobble, the one thing you gotta be careful of is when you cobble together repeaters, they tend not to be reliable. When you find, oh, I have this radio and I'm gonna put 2 mobiles together and make that work, they tend not to be as reliable. So it's a question of, you're always up at the repeater site. So again, not asking anybody to do anything. We'll talk about it again at the next board meeting. But if something happened tomorrow, that's kind of where we're at right now. I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that, okay? So any questions? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Frank.
So how old is the current repeater, and what would a ballpark replacement cost be?
How old I worked in a Master 2 35 years ago, which was old. How old is the Master 2, Dean?
I think it came out in the 70s.
70s, yeah.
Is that all? Okay. So
Not what you were expecting.
What's a ballpark cost if it dies, or if we want to upgrade it to a?
I'm getting the soldering iron.
Okay, so Ken Ark, who has Arcom Communications, who does the deal, he has a cable to plug in, he programs that he has a cable to plug into the controller. He said that it was, Kenwood sold that repeater for like $19.95 or something like that. So it's not cheap. Compared to the previous one, TKR 750 was like $1,100. So it's gone up, obviously, since we bought that one. The only thing is that the Kenwood repeaters typically only put out, they run in 25 watts or 50 watts. They're 50 watts in mobile service, they're 25 watts in repeater service, all right? So what's the repeater putting out right now?
30 watts.
30 watts. So you'd be at 25. So that's the issue. You'd be at 25 watts. And so you certainly could put an amplifier on it, but it's not really worth it for the extra 5 watts, to get you up to whatever it is. So that's the answer. The answer to your question would be like 19. I think it would be 2,000. Just shy of $2,000 to buy a repeater. So, but again, what I'm more concerned if the dealer told me, hey, I can have one, I have them in stock here, I can have it to you tomorrow. It's like, then it's less of it. Just keep in mind that if we're down that road and it goes off, we're down for a while. So just, some period of time, that's all. Go ahead, Bob.
So Tom, if something happened to a repeater and we're down for a month, would for example, UPark's repeater be able to cover us or?
Too far north.
Too far.
Too far
Too
north.
far.
This repeater's down in St. Pete,
Yeah,
and that repeater's up in Palm Harbor, so no.
Yeah, Metro and cars are out. They're no.
We always use the wormhole repeater.
Huh? What was that?
The wormhole repeater is always available.
Right, wormhole repeater. All right. So just something to keep in mind. I'm not gonna. I'm somewhat agnostic about it, but obviously, people are going to be calling me, so I am concerned about that in the respect that we don't have a backup, and that does scare me a little bit. So that's just something to do. Yeah, Paul.
If we do decide to go down the path of a new repeater, I personally would prefer that we would increase the power somewhat, as opposed to reduce it. And I think it would be worthwhile, if we're actually gonna put money into it, to put a linear on it that can handle the duty cycle at 50 watts. Because I am up at Clearwater and I just hit it.
Well,
So,
go ahead,
is
Alex.
it gonna make any difference as far as you're receiving?
Our repeater is already louder than it can hear.
Right.
So
Okay.
if we're
That's
having trouble getting into it, we might do better with a preamp or tweaking the filters on it. But yeah, I don't think putting an amplifier on the output is gonna help you get in.
Well, we often do both, because we've done the both at Worms too, so. I would go with improving the performance of the repeater versus degrading the performance of the repeater. Because if that were the choice, I would stick with what we had until it breaks.
Tom, if I may?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I understand what he's saying, and it's great to have backups. The question though is that if you buy a backup today, and the current repeater we have now lasts, let's say, another year, the repeater that we have as a backup is an old model.
No, if we bought it today, that would become the primary repeater. The Kenwood would become the primary repeater.
The Master 2.
We put the Master 2 back into backup service.
But the repeater we have now is working.
Understand?
So then you're not worrying about getting a backup unit, you're looking to upgrade the repeater system that we have now.
No, it's a backup, but why would you take a 45-year-old repeater and leave it running when you have one? Why would you leave that on the shelf?
Why would you
That's up to
replace-
D, honestly, really. That's
Why
up
would
to
you
D.
replace it if it's working?
There's no backup.
Yeah, so we'll be off the air for a month, and when we purchase one, we'll have a current brand new unit. That currently what's available, as opposed to buying something now.
Go ahead, D.
We're not talking about replacing it right now. It's when it breaks.
Okay, the unit breaks, we're down for a month, whatever's available.
They learn to
is
talk
brand
simplex.
new, it's a current model, whatever it happens. You buy something now,
We're not talking about buying it now.
well, this is what he's referring to, buying something now and take the unit that we have now and put it on the shelf.
I didn't hear that.
I understand the question. I mean,
Yeah,
I understand.
too.
It's like, do you take, because now here, let me say this. The Master 2 could go on for 10 more years. Absolutely. So all I'm saying is, if we have to just be aware that if it dies, we don't have a backup. Then of course, we're gonna go get a backup when it dies, but just be aware that it's gonna be some period of time that 2-meter repeater is off the air until we replace it. If everyone's fine with that, then I'm fine with that. So just as long as we're all aware of that, that's all. That really was the point. So I have no desire to steer this in any particular direction. I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware that that's the situation we have. I mean, if you were prudent and if no backup scares you, then we need to do something about it. But I need to know that. I need to hear that.
Is it possible to, when you guys go through the board meeting or whatever, to have a vote on that purchase, like what we're doing on this one? Cause for me, that, I really enjoy like the repeater and that kind of thing. I get on there a lot more than I use the club station. And I'm not trying to compare the two, I'm just saying, like, I would miss it if it was away. So, if possible, it'd be kinda good if we could maybe put that on the agenda.
You're all members. You can make a motion whenever you want, or the board meeting, or we can do it at the board meeting. So it's entirely up to what everybody wants to do.
I would like to make a motion
To
look at getting a newer repeater so that we can use the other one as our backup.
I need it's the authorization of the money you need to give me. So you need to give me what I said the new repeater we were looking at would be 2K.
Okay, yes, please.
we can work with that. Right, so Oren made a motion.
2,500.
So let me restate do we have a sec? Let me restate the question, then we'll get a second. So as I understand the question, it's to your motion is to spend 2K on the Kenwood repeater, the new Kenwood repeater.
Well, he said 2,500.
I'll say 2,500 in case there's taxes and hookup stuff and.
Sorry, I stand corrected. Your motion is to spend 2,500 on a new repeater.
Up to 2,500.
Up to 2,500. All right, do we have a second?
I second.
Second.
All right. We go in the back, we'll spread it around, there you go.
What's the call sign?
What's your call sign?
KR4BOG.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so any further, go ahead, Paul, further discussion, go ahead.
Does your 2,000 price include linear or not?
Does it what?
Does it include linear on it or not?
That doesn't include an amplifier, no, but the nice thing of that is if we determined it was a problem, you could always add an amplifier later, but, I mean, honestly, a 4-bay, a Telewave 4-bay dipole would probably be the best thing we could do, but for range,
Does it
but,
include that?
yeah, I'm just not talking about doing that right now.
But you're talking about degrading the performance that we have.
Talking about what?
Degrading the.
5 watts, 5
Yeah,
watts.
5 watts, that's, actually.
Probably
Understand.
closer to 2.5 watts,
Understand.
because of how much you're losing through the filters.
Okay. I don't know, it just seems low to me, from my experience with looking on the warranty, that's all.
I mean, I know that, I think it's prudent, I'll get you, Bob, I see you. I think it's prudent just to see what that one does, and then we'll get, even we just do it in testing and see what it does, and then get some sense of the range, and then decide, oh, no, yeah, we're gonna need an amp for some reason, or whatever, so, go ahead, Bob.
Well, I would just like to suggest that, maybe we take a look at getting a better antenna, like you folks have got up in the county, rather than the old cheapo commercial one we have there now. And, that might make a hell of a difference.
Right.
I don't know, I have no idea what the cost is, but maybe you could do that with the radio that we've got now, or any radio in the future. And that's kind of future-proof at this point.
Okay,
And you know what I'm talking about, I'm
Yeah.
not sure, but,
all right, so, any other discussion? All right, so, the motion on the floor is to authorize up to $2,500 to spend to buy a new Kenwood repeater from, I just won't put the vendor in there, but we'll get it from Arcom. Any other discussion? Okay.
does it need to be a Kenwood?
Excuse me? Yes, it's the reliability of it that Kenwood makes an incredibly reliable repeater. It's one of the amazing things that Kenwood manages to make really, really reliably. Oh, I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I have one thing I would like to
Sure.
evaluate, not just the reliability.
You're the trustee, how about it?
Something I would like to evaluate, aside from the reliability, don't get me wrong, I'm a Kenwood fan, I have 2 Kenwood radios and they're great.
Yeah, me too.
I would like to evaluate the programmability of it. And see.
The Kenwood repeater, I can tell you, the Kenwood repeaters are 16 channels. but they are, you typically, it's, programmability is generally not an issue because the duplexers are tuned, right? So.
I'm not so concerned about that. What I am concerned about is having to find a 1990s computer with a serial port
Oh,
and
no.
DOS or something.
No,
like,
no.
like some of the Motorola stuff.
I understand,
What I
yeah.
I don't wanna
Yeah.
have to do that.
This isn't this isn't the Motorola problem, I understand. Kenwood has that stuff, but the nice thing is you buy it programmed for your frequency,
Well, sure.
and you do
Like,
that, so.
I'm just saying, if a
I understand.
solar flare scrambles at the
Yeah.
brain and I gotta
No.
go back up there and
Yeah,
reprogram it.
it's not like that with
Program
Kenwood. I understand.
it with the TRS.
It's a good point. All right, so we have a question on the floor. All those in favor?
I got one of them.
Oh, we have a question on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed?
Okay, and Bob's opposed.
Was it two, or how many?
Okay,
Did it pass?
yeah, that passes. Okay, so the repeater team will, work on that. We'll look into that. All right, anything else? I think, I guess we have 50-50 stuff to do now.
Yeah.
Sorry, we ran a little late, I apologize. Get your 50-50 tickets. We'll do the first one for the money.
There's $29.
I don't have anything in here, so I can put it in the pot. Okay, it says $29?
Yep.
I'll read the full number, 802727.
Right here.
Hey, all right, there you go. By the way, was the microphone helpful?
Yes.
Yes.
I can hear you all the way in the back.
I had to turn my hearing aids down.
That's a good sign.
All right, so there is stuff on the table. Here's what we've done the last couple of months. I'm gonna draw 6 tickets. The first one I draw, go over there as quick as you can, pick the thing you'd like. I'm gonna do it 5 more times. Pick what you'd like. After that, it's a free-for-all. Go take something off the table, all right?